On our Unit 5 review sheet, number 18, we need to find the exact values of the double angles for sine, cosine, and tangent, given this information. And we're given cosine in the quadrant. So we have to still find sine and, well, at least sine, because our double angle formula, let me just rewrite those over here. Cosine of 2 theta equals cosine squared of theta minus cosine squared, sine squared of theta. And sine of 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta. And tangent, as long as those come out somewhat pretty, we can actually, rather than using the double angle for tangent, we could use the above answers. And if that doesn't come out pretty, or if it's not easy to evaluate, then we can always use the double angle formula for tangent, which is, let's see, 2 tangent theta over 1 minus tan squared theta. So I have cosine. I have this guy and this guy. And I need sine. I at least need sine. Wait, yeah, that's right. I might need tangent, only if it comes out ugly and I can't evaluate it with just using sine over cosine. But to find sine, we're going to use this hint that they gave us that the angle is in Q2. So if it's in Q2, we have a triangle that's oriented like so. And there's our reference angle. And that means that, let's see, cosine, remember, SOHCAHTOA tells us that the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent leg for that angle is 9. And the hypotenuse is 41. I know this negative goes on the x because it's in quadrant 2, and that's how quadrant 2 helps me. All right. So the next step is to use that triangle, so I got to find that third side so I can find sine. That third side is going to be, let's see. So we got x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And we have x as negative 9. And we have r is 41. And we need to solve for y. So that gives me y squared equals 41 squared minus negative 9 squared. And if I take the square root of both sides, I'll get my answer for y. So that's going to be a plus or a minus. I actually know it's going to be a plus since we're in quadrant 2. So I'll put that in the next line. And then I need to find out what 41 squared is and negative 9 squared. I don't know why that, whoops. There we go. So 41 squared, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I need to do a little multiplication. And I get 1681, so a little side work for that. So I get square root of 1681. I know 9 squared is 81, so that gives me plus positive 1600, which I know is 40. So that third side is 40. So now looking back to my formulas, I need to find sine. So I have cosine already. I'm just going to write it down for reference. So I have these all together. And then sine will be the opposite over hypotenuse. So that's positive 40 over 41. And I should be able to find all three of these using those two items. I might need tangent, probably not. You know what? I'll write it just in case it comes up that it's not working out. I can always go back to tangent. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is the 40 over 9 and the negative out in front. So that's the information I need to solve these. Okay, so first one is cosine of 2 theta, which is cosine squared, which is the negative 9 over 41 squared, minus sine, which is 40 over 41 squared. And I kind of did some of this math just a minute ago. I know that the negative is going to be squared, it's going to be positive. 9 squared is 81, and 41 squared I found earlier, which is 1681. And minus 40 squared is 1600. 41 squared gives me 1681. And I'm left with, I guess that would be about negative 1519 over 1681. Okay, and then going on to sine, we get sine of 2 theta equals my formula here, which is 2 times sine of theta, 40 over 41, cosine of theta, negative 9 over 41. I'm going to put that in parentheses so I don't accidentally subtract. And then I know the 41 is, I already figured that one out a couple times, is 1681. And then the 40 times 9 times 2, I'm going to have a negative. That's 2 times 40 is 80, and then I have to think 80 times 9, 7,200. I mean 720. There we go. So that should be sine. And then the last one is tangent, and I'm going to try to do tangent using sine and cosine because sometimes that is easier. Usually that is easier. Those numbers came out pretty, and they have common denominators, so that should be one of those cases. So sine of cosine. Okay, so sine is this guy, and we want to divide it by cosine, which is this guy. So this divided by this. I have a common denominator of 1681, so those are going to drop out. I have two negatives. Negative divided by negative gives me a positive. My 1681 drops out, and I'm left with 720 over 1519. Those are my three final answers.